Hey, David, are landslide elections even possible in the modern United States? So there's a couple different considerations here. Understand that with the electoral college system, you can have a close popular vote relatively and a huge electoral college victory. It can happen. You can also have a popular vote win for one candidate while they actually lose the electoral college, as we have seen help Republicans multiple times in the last couple of decades, including most recently Donald Trump in 2016. The reason in our country that you are less likely to see these overwhelming landslide victories right now, it's less about the system. The system very much can allow an overwhelming electoral college victory. It's more about polarization. The entire country agrees on almost nothing. I imagined when the coronavirus was starting, this isn't, how naive was I? What an idiot, right? We're not going to politicize a virus. We're going to come together as Americans and we're going to do what needs to be done. And we're going to keep people safe and we're going to speak logically. And it's going to be connected to the facts on the ground. Boy, was I wrong. And if the country can't even agree barely about something like a virus, so empirical, so fact-based, then it is very difficult to imagine that you could have such lopsidedness in the United States that you would see such an overwhelming landslide. Now, that being said, how we define landslide is up to us, and you could see this November what in the modern era would be considered a landslide victory for Joe Biden, or he might lose. Now, the bigger picture is that you have a lot of people in this country, and this gets to critical thinking, this gets to education, this gets to media literacy. You have a lot of people in this country who will never vote for a Democratic candidate. You also have a lot of people in this country who will never vote for a Republican candidate, regardless of their platforms and regardless of what they actually stand for. There are then a bunch of people in the middle who will see reason, but it is tough. It really requires fixing and changing a lot of the systems that keep people in these filter bubbles and echo chambers. And so when we look at how they are distributed around the country, that's where the potential for a landslide really comes. When you look at some of the polling for the upcoming election and you see, wow, Trump is only up 2 in a recent Texas poll from the Dallas Morning News. Wow. Trump is only winning in Missouri by 5, whereas he won in 2016 by 19. Demographic changes, older voters dying, quite frankly, and immigration from Latin America coming in could actually create a situation where, we've been saying it for a while, but it could be in 4 years, in 8 years, in 12 years. Texas could be a purple state that sometimes votes for a Democrat. Georgia could be a purple state that sometimes votes for a Democrat. There are others. You could actually end up with a Democratic candidate with more than 400 electoral votes, but it will likely take some time. The Republican Party will fight it with gerrymandering. They will fight it with voter suppression because they know they can't win on the issues. The other thing to consider is it's not in the interests of corporate media to have a blowout election. Imagine how many people would tune out if in June all corporate media said, this race is over. And of course, they would never actually do that. But corporate media has an interest to keep it seeming as hard fought and close as possible. So for the foreseeable future, what do we know? We know that elections will at least be portrayed as close. And we also know that unless demographic changes overwhelm the level of partisanship that we have in this country, we are likely to see contested elections. We will put it that way, competitive elections for a very long time. Okay, last question today. David, I see Joe Biden has a nice lead, but how can he keep the lead for 2 months and prevent it from slipping away? So the numbers are looking pretty good for Joe Biden. Earlier this week, we compared Joe Biden's polling to that of Hillary Clinton exactly 4 years ago. And we found that on September 8th, which was Tuesday, Joe Biden was up 7.1 compared to Hillary Clinton being up only 2.5 on that same date in 2016. So that's good. At this point, this election is going to fundamentally come down to turnout and foul play. Very few people are going to change their minds between the candidates in the time that is left. I don't want to pretend that the swing voter doesn't exist. I don't want to pretend that some people are undecided. As insane as it sounds to be undecided right now, some people are undecided. I'd love to meet them. Please call into my show. I want to talk to you, but they do exist.